Aye.
Here.
Commissioner Gainer,
Here.
Commissioner Rogers,
Here.
Commissioner Warren,
Here.
Mayor Welch.
Here. May we stand for the opening prayer and pledge of allegiance if you so desire.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, as we gather here to work towards a common goal, we ask for your presence to guide and direct our decisions. We know your will is good for all members of our community. We also pray for our police and fire department and city workers for their safety in the work they do. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Yes, we'd like to delete, under old business, item number 2, the second reading of an ordinance vacating portions of Fifth Avenue.
Any other?
I so move we approve the deletion of item 2 under old business.
I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second.
I think Kenya beat me, so.
Either way.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Do I have approval of the agenda then?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the deletions.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. We have a proclamation. Actually, I have a couple of proclamations. I'm going to read this here last, and then we'll come up, okay? Whereas Congress and the President of the United States have designated the first Sunday of October as National Fallen Firefighters Memorial Day, and the National Fire Protection Association has designated the first full week of October as Fire Prevention Week, and whereas homes are the locations where people are at the greatest risk of the fire injury and death, and whereas the Arkansas City Fire EMS Department is dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through education, prevention, and protection, and whereas the City of Arkansas City's residents are responsive to public education measures and able to take personal steps to increase their safety from fires, especially in their homes and kitchens, and whereas the 2020 Fire Prevention Week theme, Serve Up Fire Safety in the Kitchen, works to educate everyone about the simple but important actions they can take to keep themselves and those around them safe in the kitchen, because cooking is the #1 cause of fire, homes, and home fire injuries. Now therefore, I, Karen Welch, Mayor of the City of Arkansas City, call upon all citizens to observe the week of October the 4th through the 10th, 2020 as Fire Prevention Week. In the city of Arkansas City, Kansas, and I urge all citizens to check their kitchens for fire hazards, use safe cooking practices during Fire Prevention Week 2020, and to support the many public safety activities and efforts of the Arkansas City Fire EMS Department. I further call upon all citizens of Arkansas City to solemnly observe Sunday, October 4th, 2020, as National Fallen Firefighters Memorial Day in Arkansas City in honor of those firefighters who, through their courageous deeds, have lost their lives or become disabled in the performance of their duties.
Just for your all's information, we probably won't be going to schools this year under the circumstances. It's just almost impossible. But we are going to give handouts and give it to teachers, and hopefully they can share that with them. So anyway, on behalf of the department, I thank you for this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for all you guys do.
have another proclamation. Whereas change is constant and affects all cities, towns, counties, townships, rural areas, and other places. And whereas community planning and plans can help to manage this change in a way that provides better choices for how people work, live, and play, and community planning provides an opportunity for all residents to be involved meaningfully in making those choices that determine the future of their community. And whereas the full benefits of planning require public officials and citizens who understand, support, and demand excellence in planning and plan implementation. And whereas this month of October is designated as National Community Planning Month throughout the United States of America and its territories. And whereas the first Monday of October is celebrated as World Habitat Day, which is a day established by the United Nations to reflect annually on the state of our towns and cities and on the basic right of all to adequately shelter. And whereas the celebration of National Community Planning Month gives us the opportunity to recognize publicly the participation and dedication of the members of planning commissions and other citizen planners who have contributed their time and expertise to the improvement of the city of Arkansas City, Kansas. And whereas tonight we recognize the many valuable contributions made by professional, community, and regional planners of the city of Arkansas City, Kansas, and extend our heartfelt thanks for the continued commitment to public service by these professionals. Now therefore, I, Karen Welch, Mayor of the City of Arkansas City, Kansas, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2020 as Community Planning Month in the City of Arkansas City, Kansas, in conjunction with the celebration of National Community Planning Month throughout the United States. And I further do also hereby proclaim that October 5th, Monday, is World Habitat Day in the City of Arkansas City, Kansas, and urge all citizens to observe this day with appropriate ceremonies. Is there someone here for this? Oh, Josh. Congratulations, Josh. But it's not.
Thanks, Josh.
Thanks, Josh.
What's up? Okay, Harrison Taylor.
Good evening, everyone. I introduced myself a little bit first. I moved to Ark City about 5 years ago, and I'm usually in and out of the country a lot. And when I'm here, I'm usually restoring my old house frantically before I have to leave the country again. But since we've had this virus, it's really enabled me to slow down and relax and sit out on my porch and just kind of absorb life. And I've noticed a lot of issues here in Ark City. I guess being a newcomer, I've noticed a lot of things that I haven't seen in other cities, and I think could use some improvement. But tonight I'll just talk about one, about the traffic situation on the local streets. 5 years ago, these streets were scary because everybody thought they had the right of way. You know, I'm coming through and everybody look out for me. I spend a lot of time in China, and that's the way it is there. You know, you have people walking, people on motorbikes. Now you have millions of cars, and everybody thinks, you know, they're the most important. So these streets were pretty scary 5 years ago because people wouldn't slow down at intersections. And I thought it was the strangest thing because everybody knows the rules of an unmarked intersection, but in this town it seemed like people just assumed that they could do what they wanted to do, okay? Then about 2 years ago, you guys put up stop signs on the short streets, I guess the avenues. And yeah, that has done a great job slowing down the streets on the avenues. But what it's done, it's created freeways on the streets. I mean, I live on 4th, but it's not just 4th. All the streets, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. If I'm going down 8th, I mean, and I'm going 30 miles an hour, I've got somebody on my tail, guaranteed, every time. So it's every street. I spend a lot of time, outside, and I walk. I lived in Los Angeles 20 years. I'm ready to slow down a little bit. So it's annoying. It's dangerous. There's a lot of kids that play basketball in the street around my house. It's a situation that I think needs to be looked at, addressed. I'm not saying all the cars are speeding, but there's a high percentage of speeders. And some people are just going 35 miles an hour. Some people are going 50, even more. It's really crazy. Now, Summit Avenue, people generally drive the speed limit there because they know there's enforcement there. They know there's a pretty good chance or a possibility they're going to get caught. Yeah, there's speeders on there, and I see police, chasing them, and that's good. But I think what we need to look at is stop signs. People in this town understand stop signs. If they see a stop sign, they understand that means stop. They'll at least slow down. But they also understand if there's no cop, there's no stop, And they just go up those streets because they know there's very little chance of enforcement on any of those streets. It's very rare for me to see a police car go by. I know there's a few unmarked cars, but I think it's a combination of enforcement and stop signs. I know that people don't want to see stop signs on every corner, but what are we going to do? I mean, I think we need to take a look at what we can do with enforcement, not just Summit Avenue, but on the other streets, and take a look at what we can do to increase stop signs or public awareness. I feel the problem is very serious. I would be more than happy. I'm kind of stuck here because of the virus, so I would be more than happy to get involved, whatever I can do. I've got time now. If I can be of any help with any input, whatever I can do.
Is this a consistent problem or just occasional?
Consistent, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
So every night you sit on your porch, you watch the cars speed by?
morning, and I go to the park, I play tennis every morning, and they're zooming by on that street. And all times of day, not just at rush hours.
Okay, thank you very much.
I'm gonna guess somewhere close to 50% are speeding to some degree.
Wow.
So, anyway, please, let me know if I can do anything to get involved. I think we need to look at
Do
it.
you see a lot of repetitious vehicles?
Yes, I do. I recognize a lot of cars going by. And it's a lot of the same cars, but I also see cars I don't recognize whipping by.
Do you ever think about writing down a tag number and?
This was my first step.
As police can't be everywhere,
Sure.
it behooves the citizen to participate in the correction of what you're stating.
But if I was a speeder, and I'm not a speeder, but if I was, I would not speed on Summit. I would go to any other street.
Oh, I know, I don't speed on Summit. Do you speed on Summit? I don't speed on Summit.
I'd
But
be
I also
crazy
don't-
to speed on Summit, but if,
There's also Maple Avenue, which has stop signs for north-south traffic, which I feel does slow down traffic quite a bit.
and then they speed on Maple, yeah.
And
They
then-
whip up there, because that's next to Wilson Park. Because that's where I am
Gee,
every
we just
morning.
can't win, can we?
Well, I think, I know there are some major thoroughfares that don't have stop signs, and we need to keep that. But I feel that if we steer the majority of traffic to like 2nd or 5th or 8th, and then patrol those streets a little more, you know, just so word gets out that they're watching those streets.
I see police going up and down my street all the time.
I wish I could say the same. It just isn't happening.
Well, since the beginning of the Traffic Safety Committee, something that Chief Ward is very passionate about is the intersections, and he brought in those stop signs, and it reduced the traffic accidents, and it slowed people down to be able to do that. And I think they have a progressive program that will allow them to continue doing that as they find the intersections that have the greatest impact.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, and even before you put the stop signs in, people would go up and down the avenues like everybody had to stop for them, you know? And I think it did fix part of the problem, but I don't think we're all the way there yet. I think it needs more attention.
And I don't think they think they're all the way there, but Chief Ward, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
Certainly, I can explain a little bit about what we do for traffic and enforcement if you'd like.
Okay.
What we do for our traffic enforcement is every month we look at all of the crash data, determine where the accidents are occurring, and we usually go back about 6 months and look for patterns. We then develop a plan for our shifts, and we look at the times and locations of those accidents, and we try to have our resources in those locations that are the highest accident rates. The reason you see so many on Summit is over 50% of our accidents happen in that corridor on Summit. So we have a lot of focus on that area. We do have other areas. Most of those are a little bit spread out, so we're not seeing the clusters. He is absolutely right, though. 8th Street has become an issue, and we're seeing a lot more traffic on 8th Street. I don't know if it's because we're doing enforcement there or if there are other things. A lot of it is also traffic that is coming in and heading up 8th Street to the
Yes.
industrial areas. A lot of people are working up there. We do try to have a lot of enforcement on 8th Street. That's actually one of the hot spots, especially up by the high school area and beyond. That's actually a very dangerous area. So we do focus on those areas, but unfortunately, as you know, we have a minimum staffing of 3 officers on the street at a time, and we usually have either 3 or 4 officers on the street, and we're down 6 working officers right now. We're full, but they're not working because in training and stuff. So, you know, our resources are limited, and we do what we can. We do also, when we look at the data, we also look at where they're doing their enforcement, and we overlay that to make sure that they're enforcing at the right places, and that data overlaps almost identical to our accident areas every month. So absolutely, I agree with you. The traffic is a big thing here in Arc City, and we've done a pretty good job of trying to keep those accident numbers down. We have 3 things that we try to do at the police department: reduce the number of accidents, reduce crime, and connect with the community. And so that's one of the 3 things that we try to do, and we focus a great deal on it. Absolutely.
I might suggest for Mr. Taylor, is that right?
Yeah.
Have you met Dan Ward?
We have that traffic safety
Has he
committee.
met you?
If you want to get involved, put your name in the hat. Andrew will take your name,
Okay.
Yeah,
so.
you're a concerned citizen, and
Yeah.
you need to get help us. I mean, you know, that'd be a good committee to start with, you know, get on to it, and where you can express and where you can work things out and stuff. And
Sure.
And
See what- see what we're
see how
doing.
we
we
need
do.
people like you to, you know, get involved.
You know, I've been on that traffic safety committee, and Chief Ward does present information about where stuff's happening, what they're planning on doing, their next, I guess, plan of attack, and they do ask for input from citizens and people, and we do need citizens to help bring some of this to our attention sometimes, because we can only see so much and show so much and know so
Sure.
much, and when we do get some, it is nice to say, okay, well, maybe that is an issue, so.
Yeah, and I'd just like to say, I'm not criticizing the police. I
No,
know they're
I
doing
know.
their
I
job.
understand
Yeah.
that.
Oh,
It's
no, we
just,
know.
I think we need a little
Citizen
adjustment. And
cooperation.
there's not accidents on these streets for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and whatever. There's not accidents there. There's just speeding there, because there's not the traffic flow that there is on like Summit. So it's
But
not
it
a high
could lead
risk.
into an accident at
Yeah.
some point in time if they keep on doing it.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
um,
exactly.
And with bringing this to our attention, hopefully when we get the workforce back, everyone back up, they may be able to patrol some of those areas a little bit more too. So, I mean, but it is nice to have that attention brought to us. So.
Okay.
When it comes down to my corner, about 3:15 after school's out, I live on 7th and Kansas, and there's a drag strip sometimes.
Oh, Kansas is terrible, yeah.
So, only after school, it seems like.
Mr.
So,
Taylor, I'd like to introduce you to our police chief. This is Dan Ward.
Okay, nice to meet you, Dan. Okay, so.
Feel free to call him.
All right, I have some more comments, but I'm gonna save those for the next meeting on different topics. So
Thank you.
thank
Oh,
thank you.
thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Harrison. Oh, consent agenda.
I make a motion we could approve this, consent agenda as written.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second to accept the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Old business. We're going to consider the second reading of a charter ordinance amending provisions of Charter Ordinance 7, 12, 15, 24, 21, and 34 regarding the city-owned medical center, providing substitute and additional provisions relating thereto and modifying municipal code to so reflect.
Commissioners, Mayor, any questions since Friday?
Yeah, I think all the changes that were brought up have been addressed, and, you know, I want to thank you and for working on that and getting this ball kind of moving, so.
I also
Yeah.
thank Andrew
Yeah, Andrew, yeah.
and the hospital attorneys has a lot of input that was helpful as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
I will move that we approve the reading of Charter Ordinance amending provisions of Charter Ordinances 7, 12, 15, 21, 24, 34 regarding the city-owned medical center, providing substitute and additional provisions relating thereto and modifying municipal code to so reflect.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, considering the second reading of the charter ordinance. Roll call.
Commissioner Eastman?
Yes.
Commissioner Gager?
Yes.
Commissioner Rogers?
Yes.
Commissioner Warren?
Yes.
Mayor Welch?
Yes.
This is not pertaining, I mean, it is, it's not, we have so many days now to get the structure changed over, correct now?
Yes.
60 days or 90 days or something? I think it was 60, I just want to make sure that it's right in my
Yeah,
head.
It has to
so.
be published twice, and then the 60-day clock starts. So
It
we
starts,
think
so-
that'll probably be about the beginning of December.
All right,
And at that point, we were planning to bring some appointments. In the meantime, Mayor Welch asked me to forward all these standing applicants to the hospital CEO, which I've done, and I know they have already reached out to all those candidates and invited them to their next meeting. So they're already working to evaluate and make some recommendations. So hopefully by December, we'll have
Gonna be at
a
the
good
next
pool for
trustee
you.
meeting, you said?
That's my understanding. yes.
Okay.
At least some of them will.
thanks.
Thank
That
you.
was just the one point before we moved on, so, thanks. That's all on the table.
There's number 2, we just deleted. Consider the second reading of an ordinance approving the form of and authorizing the execution of an interlocal cooperation agreement respecting the financing of the acquisition of certain real property at Strother Field Airport Industrial Park. Are there any comments or questions?
Karen.
Yes, sir?
I'll respectfully ask you if I could remove my mask. I think we're further enough apart. I can't hardly talk through it and can't read my notes. This is an item that I feel very badly about. It's been going on for about 3 months. I've been in front of this commission twice. Been in front of the Strother Commission twice. Do not understand what happened. Don't want to revisit old facts, but this building was a building that I bought, purchased from the owners, paid $20,000 earnest money, only to find out that the Strother Field Commission decided they'd rather have it than private parties or people. So under the right they had, and they did have the right of first right of refusal, they took the building from me. They did not honor the contract that I had first right of refusal, I was led to believe they would follow the terms of the contract I had. They did not. You have followed none of those terms. You have not proceeded. Had I been able to complete my purchase, I'd have built another 100,000 square foot joining that property, and I'd have built a water tower, if you will, to further enhance that side of the field. I've heard nothing from the city of Winfield or the city of Arc City or the Strother Field Commission about doing any of those things. If you're gonna compete with private enterprise, at least do what they were willing to do. I was going to help Western industry grow. I could do this by actually renting them at half price a building that they need for their future growth, and then allow them to take over the building as they further grew over the next 2 or 3 years. You will not be able to do those things. This thing says this is a second reading of an ordinance. That isn't true either. The last meeting that you had, I was here, and you decided, rightfully so, to get some more information from the Strother Commission and from the Winfield people and from Sean. Now, I was unable to come to your work session last week, but I understand Sean did come, and he did tell you he had $1,900,000 in the bank, or something along those lines, and didn't need this $1.3 million, but he didn't want to use his money if you could borrow money and let the taxpayers be responsible for it. I don't know where that kind of thinking comes from, and I pray this commission doesn't believe that. They cannot be getting 0.002% interest on their $1.9 million if they have such a thing, and I don't believe that. I don't know that you do, or if you've seen evidence of it, I'd like to see it. So many things have been shoved under this whole deal from the start has been shoved under. Nobody wanted to talk about it. Nobody wanted to talk to me about it. They knew they were stepping on my toes. I've had my toes stepped on before. I don't get mad. I try to reach out and find out what the facts are. What is really going on here? We're not helping the community. We certainly are not helping this industry. And we're going to borrow $1,300,000 and let the taxpayers be on the hook when we don't need it because we've got $1.9 million in the
Jimmy,
bank.
that is not true. You're not telling the truth right here. You're confused.
What part of it, Jay? What
Well,
part?
it's all. You're going around in circles. They have the money to pay for it, but interest is so cheap right now, and the two cities are not hooked up for this thing. Strother Field is buying themselves. They're the only airport in the state of Kansas that's self-sufficient, and that's
Okay.
what they are right now.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah, it is. But don't go around
Do they
saying
have
that the-
do they
the
have
two-
$1.9 million in the bank?
Yes, they do.
And then why are we as citizens of Cowley
You're
County?
not. They're going to pay for the money as the thing works through. So,
As the rents come in, they're going to
Yes,
pay it
yeah.
unless something happens to the tenant.
yeah, that's true.
Part of the contract that I had, have you read the contract that I had signed? Did you read the part about the financial information that the tenant had to provide? Do you know the financial condition of the tenant? Have you done any research on the finances of this project? All questions.
I've read it, Jimmy, but I don't
Okay,
recall. Yeah.
I guess that's my point, is what I'm seeing is everybody is jumping out here, oh, this could be a great deal. Hell, yes, it's a good deal, I bought it.
No,
And
you
it's a
didn't.
better deal for you because you're not gonna pay taxes.
Jimmy,
Yes?
I have a question.
Okay?
When you were looking to buy the building, were you aware that Strother Field had first?
Karen, no. I started on this building 3 years ago. I think I've testified in front of this commission before. Hal McCoy and I started to buy both buildings.
So you were not aware of first denial with Strother Field?
No,
So when you became aware of it,
yes.
what did you think?
I talked to Sean about it, and I thought Sean was saying that I would have to get the commission's approval because they had first right of refusal. Easy enough. I'd go to the commission meeting and get their approval. I went to the commission meeting. Jay was actually the one that asked if I had anything I wanted to say. Not a lot. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna buy a building. I'm gonna add a building. I'm gonna do some other things. That's basically it. You've got the contract. You can see everything I'm doing. I didn't keep anything secret.
Did they keep it secret from you that they were
Yes.
going to take the
Well,
building?
okay, immediately they went into a work session, or a executive session. 20 minutes later, they came out and said, we're gonna buy it. We're gonna spend $1.3 million.
Okay.
I don't have any idea how they made that decision. Believe me, Karen, I spent 3 years with 2 or 3 different methods of buying this and the other building, with 2 or 3 different people, with 3 different finance sources, all getting all the things lined up. I certainly didn't go to a meeting in 20 minutes and decide, I'm gonna go spend $1.3 million of the taxpayers' money, even though I've got $1.9 million in the bank, which I don't have, and we'll borrow it against the citizens of Arc City and Winfield
Jimmy,
and the county. I mean, everybody in the
don't be
county.
saying we're borrowing it. It's a self-sufficient airport. Both cities own the airport.
Jay, I agree with you.
But
Both
don't-
cities own it. Both cities control what happens out there.
Exactly right. It's already- it's already-
And
it's
if
already
you've got,
done. We've
okay,
already paid for it.
my point on business of this thing is, if you've got $1.9 million in the bank and you're gonna spend $1.3 million on a building, you've still got $600,000 cash in the bank. Isn't that adequate? At least the 2 meetings I've been to and heard the financial information, that's 2 years' operating budget for the Strother Field Commission in the bank. And they've still got rents coming in from other sources. The only thing that would trip a trigger, and it's the warning I'm trying to give you, if anything happens, and we're in an economic crisis right now, none of us know how bad this thing's gonna get. And all of us pray we're gonna work our way through this virus and all its bad effects. But I, for one, am not getting in excessive debt or extra debt for no good reason. And that's what I'm questioning this commission about. This is saying this is a second reading. I never heard the first reading. I don't know what your
Our
agreement
first
was.
reading was our last meeting, Jamie.
The last meeting, Jay, I was at,
I know.
there was no reading of the ordinance. You actually tabled it to get with Sean and those people and have them come and talk to this commission.
They did, Friday.
Sean came and talked to you Friday, yes. There was no reading of an ordinance, though, the last meeting. There was no reading of an ordinance in your work session. You can't do that. So,
Jimmy,
again,
this
we're
is an
racing.
interlocal agreement between the 2 cities. The building has already been paid for,
Yes,
and that's all it is. It's
that's
a
right.
local
That deal's
agreement.
done.
Yeah.
I've got no, I can
That's
complain
what-
all
that's
day
what-
long. I'm not
okay.
complaining about that. What I'm asking or saying, Jay, somebody needs to slow down. Somebody needs to figure out what's going on. I pointed out at the last meeting that because of Strother Field's acquisition of 2 properties and a bond indebtedness or a bond forgiveness of taxes on the 3rd building, Strother Field has taken over $120,000 away from the county treasury in tax revenue. One of the reasons this deal is a good deal for you, I was gonna have to pay $55,000 a year taxes out of the income I was gonna get rent. You don't have to do that. So it makes Strother Field $55,000 a year better deal than what I had. And that's great for everybody, as long as everything works. Sure. Now, look a little further forward. 1 year from now, I was gonna have a 100,000 square foot building built at a cost of about $2.5 million. Are you willing to do that?
Well, we're gonna look into it if they need one.
Have you talked to them?
They're in the process talking to them.
Well, I hope if you're gonna compete with private enterprise, you at least do what we would do.
Sure.
That's one of the things that bothers me the most. The other is the tax that you're
Jimmy,
putting.
this thing's been a tax exempt for almost 50 years or 40-some years. It's not like it's the first time.
Were you gonna pay taxes on it right away as soon as you
You were
bought it?
gonna get a-
Yes.
No,
Or were you
you're
gonna
gonna
get
get
a tax
exemption
abate-
for
a
10
tax-
years on it.
No, you can't do
Last
that.
meeting you said you were gonna get a tax exemption. Could
On
I,
the new building, I would ask for a tax exemption. I cannot get, as a landlord, a tax exemption on an existing building. Can't do it. Nobody can. Hal McCoy has done it on his building by claiming he was gonna put a bed manufacturing company in there. There's been no bed manufacturing going on. Nobody wants to step on that trigger. Hal McCoy's a nice guy, don't get me wrong. He had every intention of putting a bed manufacturing company in that building, I believe. He and his son got a little crosswise and they haven't done it, probably not gonna do it now, so he's just leased it to Western. Problem with doing that, the only problem. There was no foul play on his part. But what should have happened is he should have to pay taxes. He should lose the industrial bond exemption. Just like anybody else that comes to the city and asks for an industrial bond exemption and then doesn't do what they say they will. He listed the reason he wanted an exemption. He was going to have 25 employees. He was going to do X number of dollars a month in business. All the things that you list for industrial revenue bonds. Kerry Folletti's got all that information, if you guys don't. But that building has been off the tax rolls now for 2
Well,
years.
that's not,
No,
that's
it's
not
not.
our.
It wouldn't have come up if you hadn't asked the question.
So-
The question is exactly, the building I was buying was paying $55,000 a year. Last year's taxes actually were $62,000. Based on my contract and at my request, the owners asked for a reduction in the valuation of the building from $1.6 million, I believe it was on there, to $1.3 million to match my contract amount. Because I've had some terrible problems with this assessor that calls herself an appraiser, matching a lower value. You buy a property at less value than she has it appraised at, she won't lower it. Oh, you just got a good buy. No, you don't get good buys. You don't save $300,000 on a property. We all know better than that. There are some good buys, but nothing like that. So the owners went, they requested, they hired appraisers, took it to her, and she lowered it to $1 million. Part of the reason the contract got signed finally was the lowering of that value by her to $1.3 million.
What contract?
The contract I had with the sellers.
That's terrible.
Well, the property is the land itself is Strother Field property, right?
No, that land was owned privately. Most of the land in Strother Field is actually owned privately.
I don't, that's
GE's
not what he said.
That's what not who said.
Well, there is private owned land out there, but like, there's a couple of GE buildings, you know.
But GE owns.
Yeah, GE,
Okay.
they own. The Tango building, they just bought there 2 years ago, they own it now. And
They own all the the property around Tango,
Yeah.
they bought it.
Yeah,
They bought the farm north
North
of
of
the
it.
airstrip,
yeah,
Yeah, I was
just
there.
a year ago.
yeah.
I was on the commission.
That they bought, they saw future use for the airport. I think they even got some money from the federal, aviation
Could have.
to buy that ground. So
Jim-
I'm not faulting
Yeah.
the Strother Field Commission or anybody, except they seem to use different reasons for doing different things. The biggest problem I have with this thing right now is the taxation that they've taken away from the county is forcing everybody in the county to pay those taxes. And not everybody in the county, certainly not people in Udall or Burden or Dexter or other places, are seeing a reward out of Strother Field.
Well, they're not having to pay taxes to keep Strother Field moving forward.
Beg to differ with you. There's $120,000 a year shortage in Cali County that every taxpayer in the county has to help make up to run our county. Because the commission took that money and is using it for Strother Field. So we do basically all pay into Strother Field to help operate it, even though the two cities of Winfield and Arc City are the only two owners that truly benefit from that growth. It's a negligible thing, except when you knock out private enterprise that was gonna pay the same taxes and then say, look what a good job we've done, you haven't done a good job.
Jimmy, this has been going on for years, I mean, back and forth. We've had, a lot of these buildings, we've had a second right of refusal on this stuff, so it's just not like the
First
first
right.
one.
The first right of refusal, Jay, on this building was actually initiated because the buyer was from Germany
I understand,
and
Jimmy.
bought 24 acres,
Yeah.
and they didn't want him doing anything. If you look at the ground at the north
Jimmy,
end.
we're not here to argue about this.
Okay, you're right.
It's
We're getting
already
off,
done.
we're getting off the,
Yeah, it's
the two
already
things
done.
I want to make a point to. You have not had a first reading of the ordinance. I'd like to see the ordinance. I'd like some of this stuff to be public. I've read the newspaper, this morning's newspaper.
It's
they've-
already, it's in
they've
the
called
newspaper, Jimmy. If you haven't read it, you need to read it.
I did read today's
Okay.
paper. And it's clearly in there that they didn't get a return call from Sean on some of the questions that are being asked. Some of the questions that are being asked aren't getting answered, they're just getting shuffled around. What is the interest rate on this new loan you're taking out, Jay? The $1.3 million?
That's not important here.
Yeah.
Okay, see what I'm saying?
Not, yeah.
That's,
Well, it's
that's what I'm
not.
saying.
Well,
That's fine.
being is already said and done, I make a motion, we consider the second reading ordinance approving the form of authorizing the execution of the interlocal cooperation agreement respecting the financial and acquisition of certain real estate property in Strother Field Industrial Park.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. The ordinance approving the form of authorizing the interlocal cooperation agreement. All those in favor say
Yes,
aye.
it's a
Roll
roll
call.
call.
I see that now, roll call.
Commissioner Eastman,
Yes.
Commissioner Gager,
Yes.
Commissioner Rogers,
Yes.
Commissioner Warren,
Yes.
Mayor Welch.
Yes. Motion carried. Are you ready? Go ahead.
Consider a resolution authorizing the city to enter into a community development block grant certified administrator contract with Ranson Financial Group of Wichita regarding the administration of the North Summit Street resurfacing project for an amount not to exceed $24,500.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Recently, several city staff met and we scored requests for proposals from 4 certified administrators. We sent out requests to all 17 in our region, and those are the 4 we received back. I was one of the scoring team, as was Mike Crandall. And we did our best to try to be fair to all the applicants and judge their proposals on their merits. I will say there is some past experience with a couple of these firms on these sorts of applications, and that was a factor in one of our scoring criteria. But for the rest of it, we worked off of what they submitted to us, and I think we did the best job we could of coming to the fairest conclusion. That also, the recommendation in front of you is also really the most cost-effective applicant for this process. The bid from SCED is just ever so slightly under, but I will tell you, just in our experience working with SCED on the failed application last year, we think it's money well worth spending to select Ranson, and so we would give that recommendation at this time. Rosemary Saunders is here if you have any questions about their proposal, or if you have any questions about the project, Mike and I can try to answer as best we can. And this is the necessary first step to proceed with the application process, of course. We'll have several more steps along the way.
Does anyone have any questions?
What the process is, Andrew, how long does it take, I mean, to go through this process? I mean,
So this particular grant track that we're applying for will be due by October 30th.
okay,
So we'll be working, well, we've already been working on it quite a bit. Chris Minen has been working on this for about a month and a half, I think. So we'll continue working on it probably until the last day of October. These are very complicated applications. I'm sure Rosemary can attest. There's a lot of paperwork that's required and a lot of assurances we have to make. The nice thing is, unlike the water sewer applications we've done in prior years, we didn't have to do what's called a kayak meeting where we meet with the state. So we don't have to do that kind of a pre-approval. So that helps a little bit because we can keep it all in-house. But this will take up quite a bit of my time over the next month or so.
Okay.
So, once it's turned in October, the end of October, what is it, 2 or 3 months or 4 months?
Yeah, no sooner than January.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit. Now, one other thing we're gonna bring up later, doesn't have to be discussed this moment though, but there's also the cost share program through KDOT. As you're aware, we looked at North Summit Street for that at least once before. That deadline is coming up rapidly on October 6th. And so one of the things we wanted to visit is potentially applying for both, because I don't ever guarantee a CDBG grant. It's an incredibly competitive program, and we've
Yes.
missed even with really good projects before. So I don't want to put all of our eggs in one basket, but we can talk about that a little bit later. But we're kind of looking at every possible source of funding we can, and we were really pleased with the estimates that came back on this project. I think for the first time since we've been talking about it with you, it looks attainable. We're just trying to get that extra leg that this kind of funding would represent to get us moving on it.
Could you, if you were to receive this grant and the other one, could you use them both then? So I mean, and it's,
That would be a good problem to have.
yes, I mean, I'm just saying, still you could, if
So
all.
if
move
that were to
correct,
happen,
I
there's a
mean,
couple options. One is that we could potentially, I think, use the cost share as our match locally and not have to really put in any dollars. which would be nice because we don't have a lot of street dollars, as you're well aware. We could look at expanding the project. We could potentially go further north on Kansas past Radio Lane and do more surfacing. If you wanted to look at, expanding the scope of it, there are some options on the table, and there will be a period of time for engineering. So I'd love to have that problem, but I'm not going to stand here and guarantee it'll happen. But I do think we have a good shot at cost share if CDBG doesn't work out. But we did want to give this a try just because we've had such poor luck with water sewer. We thought maybe a community facilities application would work a little better for us. And we've got so much supporting documentation from last year. And we've got the traffic study, so it's pretty much shelf ready. We just had to tweak some things. But there are definitely some things we could look at doing with that. And it's also going to be a little dependent on both programs as far as their requirements and, so we'll have to see how that goes, but I don't know if I answered your question.
Yep. Pretty much.
Well, I'll make a motion, we consider the resolution authorizing the City of Arkansas City to enter into a community development block grant, the CDBG certified administrator contract with Ranson Financial Group, LLC of Wichita regarding the administration of the North Summit Street resurfacing project for the amount not to exceed $24,500.
Second.
Third. I
I
do want to clarify, if we don't get the grant, we only pay the $5,000 fee.
That's
Yeah.
plain here.
That's fine. All those we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, considering the resolution for the CDBG administrative grant. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. And we need another one, action on, consider the resolution approving the notice of public hearing. Fine. That's fine.
That's part B to this item.
So this would just schedule a public hearing at your next meeting. We have to publish notice of it, give the public opportunity to come and offer alternate suggestions or comments on the proposed project. The scope of the project is contained in the resolution, and Rosemary will be there as well, and probably Chris if needed. So do you have any questions about the project specifically or anything else you'd want to see before we publish it? Because once we do, this is kind of the main one we have to look at.
We're really not too far along in the Chris Minan's plans, are we?
A basic project concept has been done. What really needs to happen, on October 6th, we do need to make the decision if this is what we're proceeding with or not, because we will need to get a preliminary engineering report put together in about 3 weeks' time, and he's probably gonna have to subcontract it to another firm. So we have some time. The reason that CDBG makes you do the hearing is so that the public has a chance to be heard, and so you shouldn't ever lock in your project application before then, of course. So we have time. We kind of built
Okay.
the schedule around that, but it'll be a little tight after that evening.
All right.
I move
So-
we consider resolution approving notice of public hearing for publication and setting the date for public hearing at 5:30 Tuesday, October 6, 2020, in the Commission Room, City Hall, to consider an application to be submitted to the Kansas Department of Commerce for Small Cities Community Development Grant Funds.
Second that.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
Thank you very much.
Please.
Select voting delegates to the League of Kansas Municipalities Annual Business Meeting.
Okay,
Randy, tell us about the business meeting.
well, it's a whole different world this year. It's gonna be all virtual. But we still need to have voting delegates, and, I do believe we have, how many?
Yes, Commissioner Rogers, Commissioner Ginger, and Randy are all already registered, so if you want to designate them, be the safe choices.
And Dwayne would like to, you,
I'd like to just be in on the meeting.
okay.
We've got what, 3? Need another voting delegate or not?
We have 3 delegates and 3 alternates.
Oh, that's usually all of us.
Yeah, that's usually all of us. So,
Yeah, the business meeting will be, 9:30 AM to 10:30 AM on Friday morning.
This Friday?
No, Friday, October 16th, excuse me.
October 16th?
Yes, the entire conference will be going from the 14th to the 16th. Or 13th to the 16th.
Will they be having special
Friday's
classes?
the only day for the business meeting.
Yeah, Friday morning, yeah.
Okay. 9 a.m.?
Yeah, 9:30. I'm sorry, Mayor?
Would they be having special classes like they did normally? do?
Yes, they do. So the agenda's in your packet, but they have concurrent workshops on different days, and they'll have an Ask an, for instance, on Thursday, they have Ask an Expert from 10 to 10:45, and then 11 to 11:50, they have some workshops. And then they jump into 3:30 to 4:20.
What time's the banquet?
They actually do have a happy hour. I think you have to provide your
You gonna drive up for it?
So, for instance, at Thursday, the 15th, at 4:30 to 5:30, they have a happy hour with vendors. And they have a comic, Nicole Burt's there, and on Wednesday, they have another happy hour with a Broadway performer. So anyway, they're trying to do what they can, but.
And you can watch these live or later too, so, I don't know if you heard that, that's kinda nice.
It won't be like being there, but.
Yeah.
So,
It won't.
do we need to vote to select these, or can we just select them?
Whatever you choose, you can vote.
I select Kenyon and
Scotty.
Scotty and Dwayne.
Oh, you want me to be one of them?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought
And we'll have
Randy was gonna be one.
this,
We need alternates too. so-
Randy, Jay, and I will be alternates.
Okay. I'll make that motion,
Okay.
or I'll second that motion, I'm sorry.
Okay, motion. Any questions? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Do we have any choice?
City manager updates, please.
Okay. Well, the first big one, I did send you guys out an email yesterday and notify you that Kathy has announced her intent to retire.
Oh, I didn't read that email.
So,
Okay.
yes, so she'll be missed. She has done a great job for the city, and I've only got to work with her for just a few months, but it's very evident of what, the value she's brought and the changes she's brought, and so.
Effective
I
date,
think we need to.
October 9th.
October 9th?
Fourth and fifth or something, early October.
Was it 9th? 4th?
Yeah.
Anytime?
All right.
Anyway,
So, yeah.
10/9.
10/9, October 9th.
Oh, I thought she meant for me to repeat it. 10/9 means repeat. I'm sorry.
Occupation.
Oh, well, she'll be greatly missed, and
Yes,
we
she will.
certainly have appreciated everything she's done for us in this city. It's just, I'm astounded she's leaving.
She's carried a lot of weight and stress with that job, so.
And she has helped us, especially with the hospital information and with the bonds. She was there with us. You'll be greatly missed.
So then, there's some other things on here. Don't forget, we have a special commission meeting, Tuesday the 22nd at 5:30. It would be taking the final actions on the bonds, so we don't wanna miss that. The Chamber of Commerce has a dedication ribbon cutting ceremony, for the Gene Snell Catering Kitchen at Beaufort, and that's, the 24th. And, down on the bottom, the fall cleanup day and citywide pickup week, those are gonna be pushed back a week, so those dates aren't correct. And then also the next city commission meeting, on October 3rd, or excuse me, work session on the 3rd. So,
October 2nd.
October 2nd, yes, sorry. That's all I have.
Unless, never mind, I'll keep my mouth shut.
Cost share?
what?
Oh, I thought, you did, okay. Yeah, go ahead and talk about that then, sorry.
I apologize for us not being quite prepared. I did not realize the cost share deadline was so soon. I thought we had another meeting prior, but in the past, when we were going to apply, we did bring the application to you guys and have you, well, we were gonna have you vote on it. We ended up not proceeding. Would you be basically, we're trying to find out if you would be comfortable with us going ahead and filing the application for the exact same project as we're going for CDBG, or do you want us to bring that to you? If so, we would probably have to schedule a special meeting. I guess we could add it to the agenda next week, but we don't have it prepared yet, so I just wanted to get you guys' feel on that.
I think we ought to try.
I think we should try for anything.
Anything. The same.
There will literally be identical applications as far as the amounts and everything. There's not gonna be any difference. And like I said, it's whichever we get, and if we get them both, then we got a good problem, but we do need to get that
I
done.
would say for C.
Is it October 6th or October?
October 1st.
October 1st, that's why. Yeah, we can do it next meeting.
Yeah,
Go ahead
So,
for C.
go ahead and do it, yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll work on it.
Thanks, Andrew.
If
Thank
we
you,
can,
Andrew.
if we can get more done than what, just that mile, that'd be great.
So we know what the Arkalala Festival update is. Did you say citywide pickup week? We will be having
Postpone.
it?
Yes, it needs to be moved back a week.
Okay. Is there anything further?
I make motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.